Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader Guide, Officer Guide, Master Tactician Officer Guide. Let's go!
Are you ready for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.
And now, for the very first time, we're gonna cover Master Tactician Archetype from level 16 to level 36 and how you should play an Officer Master Tactician. Master Tactician again is an offensive officer, aggressive officer, or better to say this is an aggressive support. The main keystone feature for the archetype subclass of the officer named Master Tactician is that the Master Tactician gains a stack of tactical advantage per every 5 momentum gained by the Master Tactician or their allies. So you're gonna get stacked non-stop because everyone gains momentum. The Master Tactician begins combat with the amount of tactical advantage stacks equal to their fellowship bonus, and your fellowship bonus is already huge because you are, after all, playing an officer. With the correct homeworld and origin, fellowship bonus is absolutely hilarious. The next keystone feature is press the advantage. The Master Tactician empowers their next attack to deal 4% additional damage for every stack of tactical advantage. Of the bottom one, I said we're gonna stack it like crazy as an officer, yeah. So, to put it up short, the more stacks you got, the more pain you deal. As I said, this is an aggressive support. Now here we come to the ultimate ability of the Master Tactician. I still believe, strongly believe, that ulti from the officer is one of the best and better than this one, but let's cover Master Tactician ulti and see what it does. Again, it's a very aggressive ulti. The Master Tactician selects a 3x3 zone, so 9 tiles on the battlefield, and all allies, including the Master Tactician, or say including the officer in this case, that have line of sight to any enemies inside the selected zone will make an immediate single attack against a random enemy they can target with their weapons within this zone. This would be a boss killer. Okay, that's what it is. Everyone will shoot at the boss. What you need to make sure of before you use directed firestorm, you need to make sure that all of your companions have a ranged weapon. Okay, because those that are melee and that are far away, they will not trigger ulti. All of your companions need to switch to their weapon set with ranged weapons before you use directed firestorm, and that's the entire trick. If you want to burst the boss, this is it. Again, I believe that Officer ulti is way much better than the Master Tactician ulti, but it's life. And now the time has come that we check active abilities, active skills, active spells for the Master Tactician. The first one in order would be Inspire. The target gains +1 damage and +1 additional damage for every 10 stacks of tactical advantage the Master Tactician has, but the Master Tactician loses half of their stacks of tactical advantage rounded up. This effect stacks and lasts till the end of the combat. If the target uses a heroic act before the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn, they're gonna regain 25 momentum. In other words, the stronger you are and the more stacks you have, the stronger you'll make your ally that you're gonna cast Inspire to, okay? And they're gonna hurt more. What's also very good from this spell is the recovery of momentum, where you can spam ulti. The next active ability would be Linchpin. The target ally or the Master Tactician gains +1 resolve for every 5 stacks of the tactical advantage the Master Tactician has. But the Master Tactician loses half of the stacks, effect stacks, blah blah blah. And now, until the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn, the Master Tactician gains stacks of tactical advantage equal to 20 + 3 multiplied Master Tactician Fellowship bonus of all momentum the target gains, instead of the usual 20%. Let's translate. In short, you will accumulate momentum faster, and you will be able to use your ulti faster. That's the spell. The next one would be Strong Point. The target gains +2 temporary wounds and +1 additional temporary wound for every 2 stacks of tactical advantage the Master Tactician has. But the Master Tactician loses half of their stacks of tactical advantage rounded up. Until the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn, whenever the target loses temporary wounds from damage, the target gains momentum equal to the number of temporary wounds lost. This Strong Point is a slightly better version of Linchpin. Why? Because you also gain momentum and you're also gonna be able to play with your ulti faster, but the entire difference is you're also gonna raise maximum HP of your allies, or better to say, of the one you target with a Strong Point. And that's the entire difference. I would say that it's better than Linchpin. The next one would be Assign Objective. The Master Tactician marks an enemy. If the enemy is killed by one of the Master Tactician allies before the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn, so in the turn you cast it, and as an officer, you're usually gonna play first. So that's why there's a huge benefit out of Assign Objective. The ally will gain 10 +2, the ally resolve, momentum, and +5 to all characteristics until the end of combat. Probably the best active ability for the Master Tactician in the game. To translate this, you will always play first because you're an officer and you have huge initiative. In most cases you will play first. You put a mark on an enemy, and then no matter who kills the enemy, they get stronger. Way much stronger than they used to be. Extremely good ability. The next ability would be Fervor. The Master Tactician suffers direct damage equal to 20% of their maximum wounds, their maximum health. Gain Master Tactician resolve stacks of tactical advantage and resets the cooldown of Linchpin, Inspire, and Strong Point. Until the end of the Master Tactician turn, these abilities can only target the Master Tactician themselves. This is a late game spell where you're gonna need cooldowns reset. How do we use Fervor? Cause it's only 0 action points. You're gonna use Inspired, you're gonna use Strong Point, you're gonna use Linchpin, okay, and then you're gonna trigger Fervor, and then you can use all of those skills again. Okay, it's basically what you did as an officer for allies, you know, play again to someone. Now you say to yourself, play again. Not in the exact same way, but you can replay, okay, skills that you already played and that are now on a cooldown. They won't be on a cooldown anymore, and it's 0 action points, so basically it's free. And the last ability would be Finish the Job, on an enemy creature within weapons range this time. Can only be used on enemies with the Unfinished Business effect. This effect is applied to enemies which were attacked by the Master Tactician allies but not by the Master Tactician, and have less than 50% of their maximum wounds remaining. This is a very complicated thing to trigger, especially for newcomers. You need to calculate and you need to plan ahead for Finish the Job. Or better to say, you need experience in this game if you wanna use Finish the Job in the correct way. The Master Tactician immediately attacks the target with a single shot or a strike. This attack does not count toward the attacks per turn limit, so it's a free attack, but again, you need to know what you're doing. Dealing half of the weapon maximum damage and an additional plus ballistic skill damage. And this is why I said that a Master Tactician is an offensive support. Ballistic offensive support. 4. Hard and for unfair. Bread and butter abilities would be Finish the Job, Fervor, Strong Point, and Inspire. 4 easier difficulties. Inspire is the one you want to go first, then you want to go with a Strong Point, then you want to go with Fervor, and then you want to go with the Assign Objective. That's about it. And now it's time that we check talents for Officer, Master, Tactician. The first one would be Hidden Advantage. All the Tactician abilities work as if the Tactician has the Tactician Fellowship bonus more stacks of tactical advantage. To put it up short, it's very important because you're an officer. And the bigger your Fellowship is, and it's already huge, the stronger your tactical advantage is. Or better to say, you accumulate those stacks faster. it is a talent that you should learn first. It's not over there just like that, okay? It's recommended for a reason for an officer master tactician. The next one would be Joint of Panzer. For every enemy hit by the master tactician attack, the master tactician gains a stack of tactical advantage. Again, pay attention on a tactical advantage and on a press the advantage. These are the key features of master tactician. To sum it up very fast, if you are to whack enemies with a master tactician, then you need it. If you find yourself playing as a supportive master tactician and you don't whack enemies that much, then you don't need this talent. The next talent would be Nerves of Steel. Whenever the master tactician or their allies gain momentum, they gain +1 more. Whenever the master tactician or the allies lose momentum, they lose -1 less. Good, okay, as an officer you're there to build up momentum, resolve into momentum, into ultis for your companions. As an officer, as a master tactician officer, now you're here again to build this up even further. It's a great talent, you're gonna use ultis more often. The next talent would be a Suppressive Fire. All enemies hit by the master tactician have 10% higher chances of hitting a cover when shooting at the master tactician allies behind a cover. Absolutely great. You're gonna hug cover a lot, especially if you play on harder difficulties. You're gonna hug the cover like crazy, and this is a 10% higher chance of not receiving damage while in cover. The next talent would be Against All Odds. The master tactician begins combat with additional stacks of tactical advantage equal to the number of enemies. Yeah, it's good. Why do I say that it's good? In this game, it can happen that the game throws 30 enemies at once on you. And a lot of times you'll fight above 10 enemies. And that means automatically 10 plus stacks. And you need those stacks to be stronger. So yes, Against All Odds is an extremely great talent. This is like a bread and butter talent for the master tactician. The next one would be At the Edge. The master tactician deals 12% more damage to targets with less than 50% health and heals 20% more health for targets with less than 50% health. When enemies are low on health, you hurt them more. When allies are low on health, you heal them more. Okay, that's the spell. Good talent. The next one would be Reliance. Using Linchpin now spends only a quarter stacks of tactical advantage instead of a half. If you are to use Linchpin, then yeah, you should go with it, if you decide to use Linchpin. I already told you what I think about Linchpin and what I think about Strongpoint. I believe Strongpoint is better. The next talent would be In the Hero's Footsteps. The Master Tactician immediately gains an extra turn with Master Tactician Fellowship bonus divided by 3 action points and full movement points the first time any of the Master Tactician allies uses a heroic act in a combat and finishes their turn. To put it up short, this is a great talent. You will get to play again once an ally uses a heroic act, or better to say once an ally or your companion uses an ulti, you will get a chance to fix the fight. Good one, good talent. I don't know why it's not recommended though. The next talent would be Personal Involvement. Every enemy killed by the Master Tactician increases the Master Tactician resolve by +1 until the end of combat. Good one again. Why? I already said there's a lot of enemies in combat. With every kill, resolve goes up. Resolve goes up, momentum goes faster, momentum goes faster. You can use ulti faster. Hey, good talent. The next one would be Salvation. Using medkits on an ally under the effects, you're not here to heal. Okay, you're just not here to heal, but let's see. Using medkits on an ally under the effects of Tactician Doctrine abilities heals the target for additional wounds equal to Tactician Fellowship bonus plus the target's toughness bonus and removes 1 extra injury without any tests. This part without any tests is huge actually, okay, but you're not there to heal. Only because this without any tests, curing injuries, okay, it's automatic injury cure. Only because of that this talent is good. Otherwise, it's whatever. The next talent would be Tactical Respite. Whenever the Master Tactician reloads a weapon, all allies within a 3-cell radius around the Master Tactician also reload their weapons. You need to know your game if you wanna play with this. You need to have a specific team, you need to count even the bullets that you're shooting with, and you need to know how to position. This is only valid for unfair. Hard and below should play without tactical respect. This is unfair talent. Very good, but extremely hard to learn. The next one would be cost effective. Grenades and medkits cost 1 less action point to use to a minimum of 0. Good, yeah, good, but if you took Grenadier, you don't need it. So, you see what you do now, whether you're gonna take Grenadier from Talents 2 or you're gonna take cost effective from the Master Tactician. This is your choice. The next one would be Stand Resolute. Whenever the Master Tactician heals an ally, that ally gains +1 resolve until the end of combat. The effect stacks up to a maximum of plus Fellowship. It's good because it's scaled with Fellowship, okay, and because you can build Resolve, aka Momentum, aka your ulti. But I would not recommend because there are better talents. And I already told you what are the good ones. The next one would be Support the Advance. At the beginning of the Master Tactician turn, if their momentum is higher than 125, the first burst fire or area attack used by the Master Tactician this turn will cost 1 less action point to a minimum of 0. It's actually brilliant, but it requires a specific weapon. A specific weapon with a specific weapon proficiency and a very aggressive playstyle. For example, if you play with a sniper, the talent is useless. But if you play with a bolter, then it's good. Okay, that's how it goes here. Your weapon of choice depends whether you will take this talent or not. The next talent would be Ally Coordination. All allies have a 25% dodge against attacks made by allies, deal -25% less damage to allies, and deal 50% less additional damage with critical hits against allies. Don't shoot at your allies, and do not use this talent. Position and avoid friendly fire, instead of taking this stupid talent and wasting a talent point. It's useless. The next talent would be Undisputed Advantage. Press the advantage, ignores covers and dodge. Good. Whenever you can ignore enemy dodge or ignore the cover, that's a good talent, because enemies hug covers a lot. The next one would be Heroic Inspiration. The first ability the Master Tactician uses after the very first heroic act used in combat will cost 0 action points until the end of combat. Even though it sounds good, you don't need it, because here you're already level like 20, 25, 30, you already have a lot of action points, okay, and a lot of things to do and upgrade and, you know, to use in combat. And now whether you're gonna have a free action point of some ability after the ulti doesn't matter. Or better to say, once you use ulti, if you're incapable of winning the fight after the ulti, just reload, because that one single skill, one ability after the ulti that costs 0 action points won't save your ass. You need to win with those ultis. The next talent would be Logistical Superiority. Whenever the Master Tactician or the Master Tactician's ally uses any consumable, for example grenades, medkits and so on, there are stim packs as well, stims, injections and so on, or reloads a weapon, the Master Tactician will gain 2 stacks of tactical advantage. It is bread and butter, okay, your stacks of how strong you actually are as a Master Tactician. And yes, this is a very solid talent. The next one would be Comfort in Conformity. Whenever an ally grants the Master Tactician stacks of tactical advantage, the ally will also heal 1 wound for every stack granted. It's only 1 wound, even if he gives 5 wounds, 5 HP. Gotcha. Stacking the deck. Whenever the Master Tactician spends tactical advantage stacks on abilities, the critical damage dealt by the Master Tactician increases by 1% for every stack spent until the end of the turn. Let's translate this. It will be extremely hard to gain some huge benefits out of this talent, so just ignore. The next one will be Dawn of Victory. Every critical hit the Master Tactician makes grants them momentum equal to half of their resolve, works up to 3 times per turn. Solid, I guess, but I would not say that it's useful on a harder difficulties. The next talent would be Unwavering Motivation. The target of Inspire gains +1 additional damage for every 10 stacks of tactical advantage until the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn. This is good, because you will use Inspire, and why not to get that +1 to damage every time on every 10 stacks, you know, no matter who you buff. It counts, especially on bursters. The next one would be Primary Objective. Assign Objective also makes the target suffer 7% more damage from any source until the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn. If you play first, and you use Assign Objective, and then all allies play after you, then the spell is useful. Okay? I mean talent that buffs the spell. It buffs Assign Objective. And only if you play first. If you play like third, fourth, it ain't that good. So you need to make sure that you play first. The next one would be Stronghold. Strong Point also grants half the amount of temporary wounds to the ally closest to the target. This is a very good talent, okay? Because I told you that Stronghold is a very good ability. This makes Stronghold, or better to say Strong Point, even better. Very good. And the last talent for the Master Tactician would be a Perfect Finish. Finish the job gains 75% chance of a crit. So you remember what I said for Finish the Job? This makes it 75% chance to crit. I said that you need to really know how to play this game to trigger Finish the Job. It's one of the best spells in the game, but it's very hard to trigger this. And that talent upgrades this already great spell. Very good, but avoid if you're a beginner. Now, as far as Talent 2 goes, Talents 2, or second tier of talents for the Master Tactician, they're exactly the same like for the Officer, okay? And what you didn't learn back then, you can learn it now. If you found your weapon of choice, finally upgrade weapon proficiency, upgrade some dodge, upgrade some hit points, or better to say wounds, take those Grenadier, passives and so on. You can do that. Now let's check ultimate upgrades for the Directed Firestorm for the Officer, Master, Tactician. When you mark an area, all allies shoot enemies in that area. That's your ulti. Okay, now instead of shooting once, they're gonna make 2 attacks. Solid upgrade. Upgrade 2, Directed Firestorm and Last Volley can be used multiple times per combat, once per turn. Good upgrade, but for this part over here, when you're about to end. Okay, not over here, but over here, because you need to be stronger, you need more stacks. The higher the level, the better the stacks. And then you can trigger this multiple times per turn. In other case, if you take it earlier, you're gonna regret because you won't be able to use it. So that's why you need to go with the first one, okay? The third option. All allies, including the Master Tactician that have a weapon capable of a burst fire, use burst fire instead of a single shot to attack enemies as a part of Directed Firestorm and Last Volley. Until the beginning of the Master Tactician next turn, allies automatically dodge all friendly fire. Oh man, you need to know what you're doing for the third upgrade. Basically, for the Master Tactician Archetype Officer, you really need to know the game well. This is not an easy class to play with. It's far better with a Vanguard and easier, yeah. Here you need to strategize like crazy, that's why it's Master Tactician. Not all allies will have burst weapons. If they have burst weapons, and that's like, I don't know if 0.1% of players will have a full team with burst weapons to make this count. Okay, so ignore it. And the last one, all allies, including the Master Tactician, that have a weapon capable of area attacks this time. You know, the third one was the burst fire, and this is the AoE fire. They have area of attacks, they're gonna use area of attacks instead of a single strike. Okay, to attack enemies as part of as part of the ulti. All allies within the zone will get 35% armor until the end of the Master Tactician next turn. Not bad, okay. You can kinda exploit this one a bit better because of the armor. So what would I say for this right now? The first one is the one that you should learn immediately, and then when you reach here, okay, this is where you need to pick one out of these three, and the one I would take would be multiple times, okay, and I would ignore these two because they are really, you need a team composition for both of them, extremely good team composition, and that's the main issue. Not only that you need good team composition, you also need good weapon of choice on every character. That would be it for Master Tactician, and again, to repeat, Master Tactician is an offensive officer support, aggressive officer. The best option would be Navy Officer. Origin. The best homeworld would be Hive or Fortress. End of story. Also, if you like playing with spells, you can play as a Sanctioned Psyker Biomancer for the offensive officer, or better to say, for the Master Tactician. If you know what you're doing, and on your second, third run and so on, you can always play as Astra Militarum Commander for the Master Tactician. If you decide to play as a Psyker, you go with a Voidborn, of course. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I thank to all of my patrons and all of the members on my YouTube channel. As always, thank you all for your support, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.